Hi, I'm Dennis Young with Issues in Education. I have with me Dr. Tom Bertrand, Executive Director of the Illinois Association of School Boards. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is the 2019 conference in Chicago, and it has grown immensely since you took over last year. And how many people are here today?
Sure has. There will be in the neighborhood of 9,500 people here, and that includes paid registrations, guests, exhibitors, so it's quite an event. It's the second largest conference held at the Hyatt Regency in Chicago all year.
My gosh.
So it's a major undertaking. And yesterday, attended a meeting with the hotel staff at the Sheraton and the Hyatt, which are the two main hotels, and it's just amazing what goes in behind the scenes, what goes into putting an event like this on. So our staff just does a great job.
Well, since you've taken over this leadership post, you have your hands full and doing a great job.
Sure, and it's really a credit to the staff. I talked to them last night. I said, you know, there's an old Chinese proverb, those who drink the water must remember those who dug the well, and the staff really dig the well. I just show up and drink the water, so it's really great work that they've done, and it's been really good to work with them.
Good. Well, we like to put these programs on because there's a wealth of knowledge and expertise that can be shared. Just in this past year, we have a new governor. And legislatively in Illinois, you probably have a whole host of legislations that you're looking at developing,
Sure.
collaborating with legislators. Tell us something about those.
Well, last spring was one of the most prolific legislative sessions that we've seen. The governor in his first year was very successful in terms of advancing his agenda. There were about 6,000 bills introduced.
My gosh.
And a lot of those bills impact education or employers, and we represent employers. We represent them, and a lot of those bills affect us in some way. So it was a really busy legislative season. A lot of the good news was on the funding side, that the funding situation in Illinois has improved for our public schools, but with that came a lot of mandates and a lot of new requirements. And so that's been a challenge. We provide policy services to all of our member school districts, and we just released the fall issue of our press policy service, and it was the largest, most complex issue we've ever produced for our members. So it was a prolific session. It resulted in a lot of policies that had to be developed because in the end, school districts have to implement the new laws.
Absolutely.
And so everything ranging from curriculum requirements to recreational marijuana and how that affects employers, and school boards are employers, and just navigating through all of those things. So it's been really challenging for the work of our staff.
Well, there are so many, I guess, built up demand in Illinois schools, whether it's facilities or other programs. So I'm sure the expectations that have been placed on you and your staff to work with the governor and everyone in Springfield is enormous.
Sure, you do, because you have to balance representing your membership with also,
That's right.
There's give and take in all of this legislative process. And so we do our best to represent our members. And as I said, there were some significant wins with funding, with the capital bill that really impacts our members with over $1 billion for school construction. So really good news on that front as well.
You know, the question that's always asked of me is, both with Southern Illinois versus Northern Illinois and Central Illinois, you know, how do you spread out those funds and programs equally? Because if you're in Southern Illinois, they always say, well, all the money's going to the north. If you're in the north,
Sure,
they say the opposite.
It is a challenge, and certainly in my position, when you're traveling to all of our 21 divisions throughout the year, you get a really good appreciation of how diverse our state really is. And there's a school construction task force that will be developing the criteria for the funding of capital projects across the state. The last capital program they had was a pretty objective, criterion-based program that you had to apply for and get approval through that process. And so it was a fair process. The new funding formula that's now in its third year drives dollars towards the districts that need it the most. And so that's really helped a lot of our downstate school districts in particular. So no doubt it's a challenge, though, because you are balancing such a diverse range of interest and needs across the state.
You know, as I meet with different school boards, one of the issues that's on their list is school safety.
Sure.
And their comment is you can't learn if you don't feel safe. And there doesn't need to be a shooting or an issue in Illinois. It can be anywhere in the country, but it feels like it's been happening right here in Illinois. Are there any legislative issues or programs coming out of Illinois, or is it the federal level?
There certainly are, and it was good news legislatively that school districts got more flexibility of how they can use, for example, revenue from countywide sales facility tax revenue to support not only SROs, school resource officers, but also support mental health services and social work services. So that was a real positive. And because we hear more than anything else about the social emotional needs of children. And we know that securing facilities is part of the solution, but the real solution is addressing the mental health crisis across the country with our young people. So, you know, we're mindful of that, and I think that is one issue that everyone agrees on, regardless of where you come from and what area you represent, is social emotional well-being of our students and our staff, for that matter, is just critical to school security, because a lot of these incidents of school violence are occurring from someone who's inside the building. And so we have to address the mental health crisis that we've got going on. And social workers, mental health professionals, psychologists, all of those support staff that we need that we can't find. It's not just a matter of resources, but the educator shortage includes all of those positions as well.
Right. Very difficult, isn't it? Challenging.
It is.
It wasn't that way 15 years ago.
No, it wasn't. And when I entered education 35 years ago, you didn't have to worry about locking a door, and you didn't have to worry about who was in your building, and people could come and go as they please, and that's not the world we live in today.
Well, you know, with such a strong support of staff in your office, you provide a range of comprehensive services to school districts, to school boards. And every time there's school board elections, as there were just back in the spring, there's a whole turnover. And it seems to put a real demand on you and your staff to try to provide those services to a whole new set of board members. How many new board members have been in the past elections?
Well, in a typical two-year school board election cycle, we would see up to 25% of school board members turn over in an election. Now, this year was a little less. It was about 19%. That still represents about 1,100 new school board members across the state. So one of the things that happens is we provide the mandated required training for those new school board members. So our board development staff are really busy starting in April all the way through June, offering training for all of those new school board members. A number of them come to this conference in the fall because it's their real first opportunity for some really good professional development in addition to the required training that they have to participate in. So it's a really busy time in that two-year election cycle. As an organization, we operate on a two-year cycle because election years are different than non-election years. So it's an interesting dynamic that I've kind of experienced now in year two. But no doubt, it's a busy time from when the election takes place in April through about June, and then it picks up again in the fall with new board members attending their first division meetings and their first joint annual conference. So we have sessions just for them at these activities as well.
I would imagine the people that run for the school board don't really understand the full set of responsibilities that they have. And once they go through your training, their eyes are probably wide open.
Absolutely. And when they get to know other board members, experienced board members, and hear their stories too about their role as a school board member, it is a challenging role. And they're truly one of the last community servants. They don't get compensated for what they do. And for about a decade, it was a tough position with the funding situation in our state and having to make really difficult decisions about programs and services that affect children and staff. And so I'm so happy that we've emerged from that dark place on the funding side of things. And that certainly makes the work of school board members more difficult when funding is an issue.
Well, as many services as you offer board members, you probably get a chance to become pretty close to many of them and understand why they ran. And is there any kind of guidelines or basic reasons why board members run? They run for a reason. Sometimes it's the football coach.
Sure.
But other times there's other reasons. And is there 3 or 4 reasons that come to mind
I
why
think
they run?
that we actually put together a video where we interviewed a number of board members and asked them the question, why do you serve? And the most common response was just feeling a sense of obligation to give back, that they went through the public schools in a community and they're in a position in their life where they feel like they need to give back and they want to give back. And so that's the most common theme, is to give back to the community. A lot of board members truly passionate belief that public education is the cornerstone of a democracy. An educated electorate is the cornerstone of democracy, and it is so important that we protect that and that we have a quality public education system. And our board members believe that. So those are the two most common responses that we get, are an opportunity to give back, an opportunity to serve, and then that public education is the cornerstone of our democracy, and we have to protect that and preserve it and really move our schools forward to serve our children.
Boy, I bet there's lots of powerful stories that could be told from those the miles of different board members.
Absolutely.
So, interesting.
Absolutely.
That makes it really rewarding for you, I bet.
Yeah, it does. It inspires me, because these folks, especially on our board of directors as an association, they are also local school board members, so they're serving on 2 boards. So they're giving of their time twice. Once to serve their district, and then at another level to serve the larger system of nearly 2 million children in the state of Illinois and 6,000 board members.
Right. Interesting. Well, I want to make sure I'm worried about your time, because you have other things to do, but the initiatives that are underway for your organization, what are some of the key ones?
Well, we're in year 2 of our strategic plan around the 5 E's that I talked about last year, and really focused on member engagement as one of those, and evolving as an association. And one of the things that I think is really important, and I remind our staff all the time, is that we're a member-driven association, and if you don't meet the needs of your members, they vote with their feet. Because they belong to your association, and if they aren't getting what they need from you, they won't belong. So it's really important that you're constantly dipping the stick to make sure you're meeting their needs out in the field. So I feel like we're a more flexible, adaptive organization than we've been before. We've restructured some of our field services support to better meet the needs of our membership, redesigned our member website, which we've gotten some really good feedback on that initiative. We have another initiative, Engage 21, where we're reaching out to 21 districts that we've identified that haven't been as involved with the association as we might like, and making an intentional effort to really extend to those districts to get them connected back with our association. We did that last year. It was very successful. And over the course of 3 years, we'll reconnect 63 districts if we hit our Engage 21 targets each year. We've increased our social media presence with staffing and that digital footprint, which is so important to our members, and just continuing to evolve as one of our most important E's of our 5 E's to meet the needs of a changing membership. Yeah.
Well, you're doing a great job. I know the word on the street is, what you're doing, all the things you just described, is really moving everything to kind of the 21st century.
Sure.
It's hitting everybody home at the right way. So.
Well, and again, the staff, I've challenged them when I came in as the executive director with some of these strategic initiatives, and they've really stepped up. They do the work. I just get to sing their praise. So well,
education
it's been a good move.
Education is transforming itself in so many different ways.
It is.
And it looks like you're at the lead of that effort. So congratulations on doing a great job.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for having me.
Thank you.